All right, here we are back at RPM Records, and you can just see Cade and the boys were unloading some stereo equipment. So we're gonna jump right in here and start digging for vinyl. And we're looking for Northern Soul. They got some free stuff outside, and we're back in. Riley's in the house. Letter K, man. We'll go right back to the 45 room and see what we can find. We're jamming. It's pretty lively. It's a Friday afternoon. We're up in Traverse City, Michigan, and this is where we're at. So there we go. Letter K right there. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bins. So let's start pulling these things and let's get at it, man. There's a cool war poster. Once again, we're looking for Northern Soul, and I'm going off of a list by a guy named Kevin Roberts, and I'm pretty sure he's been communicating with me via the Rockmine Facebook page. So check that out, Rockmine Facebook page. And I'm getting as much of an education as hopefully you guys are. I know I'm missing stuff, and I know I'm not an expert in Northern Soul, but I'm convinced that being here in the heart of Michigan, where we had Motown and Chess Records down in Chicago and all these great R&B groups, that I'm gonna find some Northern Soul. So I started with this list after I had originally done this list. Then finally, my buddy from Maryland, of all places, Jeffrey, I think his name is, gave me this alphabetized list. So that's what we're gonna be working on today. And we're gonna start with Carmen here. And then we're just going to go through all the K's all the way through Marie Knight right there. So hang tight. Let me strap in the harness and let's get digging. That's the way it works. These bins are alphabetized. And if the artist has its own bin, that'll be designated by a little tab right here. Otherwise, we got to go to the end where all the miscellaneous K's are. Now, I'm going to keep talking because I'm trying. There's background music and YouTube picks it up and dings me on a copyright. But if I talk over it, it's sort of like when you're Shazamming an artist. If there's background noise, it won't read the music. So I'm hoping by going on like an idiot, I can override it and we can get right into some good episodes via not having to do a lot of editing, because to edit out all these songs is a pain in the butt. But enough about that. Let's get right to work. I'm looking right here for Steve Carmen. All right. Steve Band featuring Jimmy Radcliffe. Steve Carmen. So who else is on there? We got Kaja Gugu. I just sold the Kaja Gugu record right there. Too Shy was their big one, and that's the one I just sold last week. So some dude from Westland, Michigan, right next to Detroit there, bought a Kaja Gugu, and that's a blaster. That's it right there. I just sold that record, Kaja Gugu. And it was called Too Shy, and it was all over MTV in 1983, and we had MTV running in East Lansing, Michigan 24/7, and back then they would actually play videos in 5 in a row. That was a good time for television, and it was a great time for us here in the U.S. to pick up on some of these great UK bands. And so we were getting some cross-pollination there. So I don't see anything underneath Carmen. Kansas, QRS. It goes right from Carmen to Kelly. So we're going to skip over this box and get right next to the next one. All right. So anyways, Detroit Bob here. A little geeked up because last week at the 11th hour, I found a $2,000 record by Psychedelic Frankie. And it was on a weird, obscure label. Found it at the Goodwill in Gary, Indiana. I wasn't even filming at the time. But I found a stack of 45s, and I picked out 5 of them. Based on the label and the obscurity, I found one on Steel Town, but it had a crack in it. So I'm not sure what to do with it. It's got some condition problems. But let's see here. Paul Kelly. Kazan. Oh boy. So far it's a little Kendricks. Eddie Kendricks was great, man. You know, he's one of the Temptations, right? He had the high voice. If you've never seen the Temptations movie, Probably came out 20 years ago, 2000, 2005 era. I would recommend it. It's one of the better early Motown movies, and it really tells the story, I think, really well. It won some awards, like some Emmy Awards. I think it was originally a TV movie, but get it on DVD and make sure you got a good stereo system that you're listening to it through. All right, no Paul Kelly. LMN. Eddie Kendricks. Let's look through the Eddie Kendricks at least, because he did have Keep on Truckin' Part 1 was his big solo hit, and he doesn't seem to have made, well, hang on, Willie Kendrick, but not Eddie. Boogie Down Baby was another good one. Keep on Truckin', Part 1 and Part 2, that was 2 sides. That probably is on a 12-inch somewhere too. Boogie Down, both of those are played a lot in Smoky Soul Town, and that's the Sirius XM Soul channel I've been listening to, and that's helpful too, guys. If you want to get into a genre, rock and roll, new wave, punk, those are probably my main wheelhouse. But if you want to get into a genre like soul, and I know soul pretty good because I grew up listening to soul, but not hardcore soul. And certainly not Northern Soul. It's like an England thing. We didn't have clubs where we could stay up all night and dance to. They changed the drinking age to 21 when we were in high school from 18. So that pretty much locked us out of any dancing clubs. And there you go. So by the time we were going to clubs, we were actually 21, and Prince and Michael Jackson were hitting hard. So yeah, I was dancing to that kind of stuff. What was that place called? The Bus Stop up in East Lansing? Or was it the Outer Limits? I think they're the same place. But I think it was, that was the place to go. Let's see here. Carmen. Kendrick, we didn't have. Kent. Man, we might have another. Benny King. BB King. You know, BB King records, they don't have a lot of value. I always thought BB, I've seen him twice live, 86 and I think 98, 99. I think blues is best appreciated live, in my humble opinion. Kirby King, Solomon King, not Jonathan King. We want Solomon King, because it says right here, Solomon King, Levi Jackson have a Northern Soul hit. But so does Al Kent. I don't see Al in here. I'm sure you guys will let me know. You guys got mad at me, or at least DJ did, because he said Jay and the Techniques apple peaches pumpkin pie was too common. Well, I told you it was common. It was a big hit over here. That's what I was sort of surprised it was on the Northern Soul list, because most of these Northern Soul titles are pretty obscure. They weren't hits over here necessarily, but I could see how you could dance to them. But you're never gonna get me out dancing to on the dance floor. I might go over to England and check out the scene if it's still going, but I think it is. All right, Kingsmen. They were a great band for one reason only. It's Louie Louie. And every frat house played. There's probably the original right there. These records are always torn to shit, because they just would get played over and over, and every teen played this, or every DJ that played frat houses. Now frat houses would hire their own DJs, and so that's where a lot of the wild parties were going down. When you were like 17 or 18, you could sneak into a frat house. I mean, you could sneak into bars too. You had to have a fake ID, and it was a big hassle. But the frat houses is where I think Iggy Pop started playing in the frat house when he was with Iggy and the Iguanas, the drumming. I'm quite sure. Kingsman right there. There you go. They're going to be, of course, Louie Louie and Twist and Shout by the Isley Brothers. That's a nice twofer right there. I think I have it. It's a little beat up. That would be a real good twofer for a jukebox. Louie Louie on one side, in the original Twist and Shout by the Isley Brothers. Great, both of them I think show up on that early Rhino release called Frat Rock. And I think there's a couple different versions of the Kingsmen too. So I don't know if that's the same group. All right, let's move on before I get sidetracked. We want Kirby. Don't see him either. King. But we want Solomon King. George Kirby. I'm just looking here. We're in the Kirby. King. I'm not seeing it, man. Kiss. Some of these you just can't pass up. Rock and Roll All Night. Beth. The drummer wrote Beth and sang it. Peter Criss, I think his name. Oh, he's got a writing credit on it too. Bob Ezrin shows up on a lot of. He was the producer. Probably helped him hash out a few of the parts of the song. Got some writing credit out of it. Never saw Kiss. Of course, they recorded. Here's a nice. Now you see this too. You got Kiss right there with Beth, and you can see through right here. You get the jukebox card, but it's the wrong one. That is Jesus is a Soul Man. I don't think that's Northern Soul. It might be. You never know. So anyway, getting sidetracked, but I just can't pass up some of these titles. They're just great stuff. Let's move on. Earl Klugh, Bob James. I've seen Earl Klugh. And if you want to see a master guitar player, his band's really good too. Saw him in Hawaii at Blue Note. So I might even pick that up. I like picking up records of guys that I've seen live. And that's sort of a jazz. It looks like it's in its birth sleeve. What's this one? I might pick both of those up. Earl Klugh with Bob James. Bob James, of course, piano, jazz guy. He played, I believe his big hit was the Taxi theme song. Great television show over here stateside. All right, let's move on. We're looking for Northern Soul, and so far we're getting sort of skunked. But you guys have been good about this. And yeah, if you see something that I miss, Kevin Roberts is telling me, hey, go back and pick this up. The good news and the bad news. Bad news is the wife sprained her ankle. So the good news is she's not going to be in here dragging me out of here. She can barely walk. So I might have a little more time to go back and pick up some of those misses today. Well, let's finish on K. The Knack. Everybody knows My Sharoni. Actually, the lead singer of the Knack, Felder, I believe the guy's name is. Feiger. Don Feiger right there. He's a Detroit native. And this was the cover. And boy, was that scandalous, because just like the Pharaoh poster, they did not airbrush anything in this image, if you understand what I'm saying. So this is a great little cover. If it's in good shape, I actually might pick it up. But the picture sleeve is the key on that. And this is a great song here, Good Girls Don't, was sort of a follow-up. But the big one was My Sharona. And it was sort of throwback. It was definitely like power pop. But I'll tell you what, 1979, I think it was 78, 79, they just rocked the airwaves. And it was a fun song, man. You could dance to it. You know, the Knack. So there she goes. That was, I think it was somebody's girlfriend. One of the guys in the band's girlfriend. And here, you know, but this is like Detroit, got Detroit written all over it, you know. This isn't Hollywood. And, you know, here, we all knew girls like that who just had an album tucked underneath their arm, blue jeans, and we call these wife beaters. I guess she would be a husband beater, but I'm going to pick it up just for the hell of it. And there you go. I think that's the best condition one. That's one you buy just for the picture sleeve. And I think I've got one framed in the Rockmine studio. See, this one's got ring wear. So, well, they both do. Boy. And if you get a mint copy of that, I would pick it up. I'm just going to pick that one up for the hell of it, because it's $1. So there you go. He's got this one marked at 3. So let's go on, move on. Now, what else are we looking for? Knight. We got Robert Knight, but we're looking for Jason Knight, Gladys Knight. You got to believe Gladys, the Knickerbockers, you know what their big hit was? Lies. This is a great song. Someone said even John Lennon thought it was his song. Heart and Soul. That's a good twofer right there. This would be... That's in really good shape. I might get that one. Lies by the Knickerbockers with Heart and Soul by Jan and Dean. That one's a little beat up. Someone said John Lennon, they played this for him. And so he said, when did we record that? It sounds so much like the Beatles. But it's a great song. Lies. Check that out. Terry Knight. Terry Knight in the Pack. And that's the forerunner of Grand Funk. So he was a DJ. A lot of times you'd have DJs that would, do lead vocals. And I've got some of his stuff. I Who Have Nothing, I think, was their big hit. I'm going to pick this one up. This Precious Time. In the Pack ended up becoming Grand Funk. Look for Grand Funk to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think they should. They're still touring. I saw them warm up for Kid Rock a couple years ago, and they were almost better than Kid Rock. So Gene Knight, you know that one, right? Mr. Big Stuff. We heard that 1973. And that's the tail end of sort of the Memphis soul scene. But that was a great bass line. Okay, so I got a Terry Knight out of this box, but I'm not seeing Gladys Knight. Oh, here we go, right behind it. What am I doing? Okay, let's continue. We got Gladys Knight, but no Bobby Klein. We didn't have any of him. So let's look through Gladys. Now, when you're looking at these, you got to remember, these are sometimes on an obscure, like the Motown Unissued. You're not going to find that. So some DJ found it and started playing it at Wigan Casino or one of these all-night dance clubs in northern UK, and it became a Northern Soul Top 500 according to this list by Kevin Roberts, I think his name is. Now, we could find this one, though, because that's on Soul, and Soul is a subsidiary of Motown, and you'll recognize it's got the purple label, Just Walk in My Shoes. Now, everybody here knows Gladys Knight. Midnight Train to Georgia was her big one over here. But I like her version of Heard It Through Grapevine better than Marvin's. It's a fast version. But neither one of us, I've seen her live. Here's the Soul label right here. And the one we're looking for is called, once again, Gladys Knight, Just Walk in My Shoes.
See you later, man.
End of our road. That's another big one. What's up, Cade?
Heading out to see my sister graduate.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah, you too, man. We'll see you next time. Yep. Heard It Through the Grapevine. Great version. I would recommend picking it up. I don't know if it's a stomper, but to me it is. So I would get out and dance to that. Heard Through the Grapevine. There it is. So that's a cutout. That's a cutout hole. And that's what that is. Now, a later issue, she ended up on Buddha Records, Midnight Train to Georgia. Huge hit. It was a slow one. And that tempo of a hit was, unusual because songs that slow, but she had such a powerful, emotional voice that she just carried that song to the top of the charts. Not that the charts are everything. I think that sometimes the charts are stupid. I didn't follow the charts. I just kept turning the radio dial. We had probably 10, 12 stations that were playing good music all the time in Detroit. We didn't have, it was all just plugging it in, and then you had your radio presets on your car. Now, when I saw her, one of the Pips, I think, was her brother, and he was a funny guy. So I don't know if that was one of them there. I think she's still around, still performing. What a great voice. Midnight Train to Georgia. So I'm looking for something on Soul. And it looks like she went from Soul, Motown to Buddha. And, let's face it, a lot of these Motown guys got lured away. Now, that's interesting, right? Went between. So Motown, slow version. You know, Columbia, Wind Between My Wings. That's some later stuff. Buddha. So a lot of these artists, Nitty Gritty, right there. Okay, that's on soul. And just walking my shoes. Got myself a good man. So there you go. Some older stuff, some newer stuff. Daddy Could Swear, I Declare. That's a great song. For once in my life. Probably not the Stevie Wonder one. Maybe. Well, yeah, it's the same song. I'm quite sure of it. But it was not written by Stevie Wonder. According to this, at least, it was written by Miller and Merton. Okay, we're looking for Just Walking My Shoes. And it doesn't say what the B-side is. Yeah. Heard Through the Grapevine. It's time to go now. Whitfield Strong. They worked with the Temptations. And they certainly wrote Heard It Through the Grapevine. Whoa. I don't know what that is. The King Tones. So that's misfiled. Gladys Knight, Midnight Train to Georgia on King Records. And Heard It Through the Grapevine. And neither one of us backed with Can't Give It Up No More. Well, that's not it. I'm looking for Just Walking My Shoes on soul. Everybody Needs Love. And Step Close to Your Heart. So we're not going to find it. Maybe Can't Give It Up. No. Okay, so there you go. Gladys Knight, Jason, Robert Knight, Jean Knight. We already saw her. Buddy Knox and Kokomo. Well, there we go. Let's keep looking. All right, I just went through this file. This was interesting when I saw this Lenny Kravitz jukebox only. I mean, I might pick that up, but it's got some wear on it, some weird wear. Probably knocking it down to a very good. But I don't know the song. All right, let's skip that. Let's go get the other box. Let's take this one back. No sign of Tim or DJ Dusty Staircase today. So who knows? Okay, this is miscellaneous K file. We're going to go through that next. And we're going to look for some of these artists. So what we're doing, we're looking for Steve Carmen. Right there. Paul Kelly, Willie Kendrick, Al Kent, Solomon King, George Kirby, Bobby Klein, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Jason Knight, and Marie Knight. Now, I'm going A through Z through this list, so this is a learning experience for me, and then hopefully you guys enjoy it. By the time I get through it, I'll probably have to go through the whole thing again. But I think record hunting, ooh, Al Kent right there. So, which one are we looking for? Way on Rick Tick, that's Rick Tick, we're looking for something called Way You've Been Acting Lately, and You Gotta Pay the Price. There it is right there. That's a Northern Soul song right there. It's an instrumental on Rick Tick. So right there. It's probably a very good plus maybe. So right there, it's that simple. $3. I don't know how I've never heard it. But right there, it's a Northern Soul on the list. You Gotta Pay the Price on Rick Tick. It says Rick Tick right there. Al Kent and Herman Weems. It's an instrumental. So there you go. Some more Northern Soul. $3. So am I getting that? Hell yes, all day long. Let's see if we got some more in there. Sometimes it just takes one to break the ice. But if I got to get out of here with one Northern Soul, I'm pretty happy. Lee Kane, Al Kent, Solomon King, Kirby Klein, Bobby Klein, Gladys Knight. I get so wound up, man, so geeked up when I get in these record shops. My brain goes insane. So sometimes I seem like I'm on drugs, but I swear I'm not. The only drug I'm on today is probably caffeine. I had 2 cups of coffee. Went out last night for dinner with Kev and the wives and hit the rooftop bar at the Indigo Hotel. That was pretty cool. Hit that, had a nice Italian meal for $20. Downtown Traverse City was hopping. So, and just called it a night. Bed by 11 o'clock. So here you go. There's fraternities. That's sort of a neat label. Oh, there you go. This one's in even better shape. So once again, Northern Soul, letter K. And this right here, where is he at? Come on, Bob. Outcat, you got to pay the price. Boom, 2 of them. So there we go. It might be popular. Groove Me. This is a great song right here. I'm picking that up because I just love the song King Floyd. I've been listening to a lot of soul on Smokey's Soul Town. All right, it says 50s and 60s. I like the sound of that. Sunny Night. We want Jason Knight. We want Marie Knight. And we want Gladys Knight. Jason, Marie, and Gladys. Oh, that's a great song too. The King Bees, My Mistake. This was a regional hit in 1980 in the Detroit area. It's got I think I can clean that off. I'm getting that right there. It's a great song. Their follow-up to that, or predecessor, was Shake Bop. And then they just sort of disappeared. So sometimes you find good stuff in between. Jerry Keller, The Candles. Joshua Cade, KGB. Huh. And Sail on Sailor. Who's this? Duke Records. Never heard of it. The King, Switching the Glide. Another great song. These guys are out of Toronto. And the beat goes on. Picking that up. Big hit in the 80s. Anybody who went to BBHS knows that one. And let's see here. Don't know those guys. Can you? So we're finding some good stuff. 2 Northern Soul, it's the same. But yeah, am I going to buy 2 of them? Timeline. So by the time they get out to California, it's just sort of like they gave up on the cool labels and just did black and white. Come on. But by that time, Motown had made so much money, and a lot of the artists were leaving. I think by the time they get to the 80s, you have Lionel Richie and Diana Ross. And I think he knew it was time to sell. Berry Gordy's still alive. Just heard an interview with him about 6 months ago. All right. I'm getting a little tired, but I'm going to plow through this. Sunny Night. No, we're looking for Jason. That's a $6 record. Keep a Walking. It's in pretty good shape. Maybe DJ knows something that I don't about this record. It's in real good shape. The one thing about Northern Soul over here, nobody knows what it is, so they're gonna bypass it 90% of the time, unless you're a collector. The only reason I got into it because I was at a record shop. I was at Region Records down in the region, and the guy said, "You ever hear of Northern Soul?" Paul, he's the owner of the shop. I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Is that soul from like the northern part of the United States?" Jake Kelly and the Premiers. Paul Kelly. Boy, I like the way this looks though. Is it a kid's record? Signed, sealed, delivered. She calls me baby. I like it. I'm buying it. Just because I like the label. It sounds a little like a. So here's another one. She calls me baby, backed with. I'm getting both of them. Well, there you go. Here we get out of here with some good stuff. Could be $1 record. It could be a $5 record. It could be a $15 record. You never know. Wayne Kemp, I don't think he's on the list. Wayne King, we have any Kings? Solomon King, Chris Kenner. The Kingpins in my pocket. Ode to Billy Joel. Well, here we go. We're getting near the end of the case, but I think if we get out of here with 2 Northern Soul, I think I'm going to be happy. Kershaw. Wayne Kemp. Coco and Me. Who's that? Kendra Corey. The Claxons. Callum. No. Kelly. Or Kennedy. See if I can get a little better view there. Tim Kirby. Kansas City. The Kingpins. King Muskerbad. King Solomon. I'd like to see him. Kemp. Condra Kemp. King Kong. After a while, your brain goes to mush. And, I don't know what that is. Paul Kelly. Well, we'll see. Might find one at the last minute here. And I might miss one too. Hello, Dolly. Oh. Keenan. Well, let's put this one back. Got another Northern Soul out of it. I think there's one more K label. Yeah, that's the letter K. No, that's it, man. Let's take a break and I'll look for some misses. All right, I did go back and look for Little Willie John, and I'm looking for I'm Shakin'. And that was the one Jack White covered, but I recognized it as a cover, and sure enough, Kevin Morris said pick that one up. So I don't see it, but there's 3 other titles. And King label, that was James Brown's label forever. So Little Willie John, you want I'm Shakin'. I don't know if it's Northern Soul or not, but I think it's fair to say that would be a good pickup. I'm gonna keep looking for it. So good tip, Kev, thanks. Talk about pricing. Okay, $2 each, 3 for $5, unless otherwise marked. That's fair. I'll give them that. And we're at RPM Records. That's up here in Traverse City, Michigan. So it's a pretty cool shop. Got some cool stuff. A lot of ephemera. Got your carrying case there. It was the 70s style. It's one my buddy Kev had one just like that, except it was blue. All right, I'm gonna grab my list and call letter K. And there we go, we got a stack. We're gonna go up front and pay for it. Probably see Riley up there. There's always some random characters. I'll clean up my mess. I'll grab my backpack. I got my handy Detroit. Hey, Detroit Tigers, man. We got the old English D, so that's sort of a cool thing too that we've retained since some of our UK heritage here in Detroit. But the baseball team, which is they use the insignia, they're doing real good. The best team in the major leagues right now. So you guys are into football, as in soccer. We're into baseball and American football. Soccer's catching on though. World Cup's coming up pretty soon. All right, that's it. And here we are, and we're ready to leave. Speed limit's 45. we got S, R, O, M, L coming up. So we got to make it all the way to Z over here, which I don't think we're going to have any problem doing. Go up front. I got my records here. Give you a little view of the place on the way out and get checked out. So they got stereo equipment in that room over there. So if you need vintage stereo stuff, they got that too. There was some lady in here a minute ago trying to sell a collection. You know, sometimes people just have junk and they think they're gonna get millions of dollars. Other times it's gold, you know? So that's that. That looks interesting, 1,000 record covers. I actually have that book to the left of it, Guitar Army with John Sinclair on the cover. It's a pretty good book. But 1,000 record covers. Detroit Bob might have to pick that up. If you're wondering where we are, Michigan, the whole state is about the size of England. I'm gonna check out here. Happy, so.
Nice cover on that one.
That was right around the same era as the Farrah poster, but they didn't airbrush anything.
13, 15 bucks.
All right, sounds like a deal. All right, if you're just starting out collecting, go to a record store and buy some of these. These are giveaways, so that's pretty cool. Some CDs. You know, you might get one record out of there, but if you don't have any money, it's the place to go. RPM Records, right here in Traverse City. And then just work your way up the ladder, man. Nobody was loaded when we were buying records back in the 70s. You'd have to save up and scrimp and save. And if you couldn't afford an LP, you got a single, or what we call a 45. So there you go, RPM Records, Traverse City, Michigan. Recommend it, come check it out. And I'm not getting paid to say this. All right, so this caught my eye because of the color of the label. I've never heard of Roadshow.
Talking to me?
It also has R. Kelly in the Premiers is the name of the band. And G. Knight, that sounds like Gladys Knight, 1973. It says Philadelphia. So this has got all the hallmarks of a good soul record. Philly Soul, Jake Kelly and the Premiers, probably Gladys Knight. Let's see what the B-side looks like. So I bought this even though I don't know the song, I don't know the band, and I don't know the label. I bought it based on the look and all these other characteristics. So there you go, signed, sealed, delivered. Of course, we know there's a Stevie Wonder song, but let's see what it looks like on Discogs. All right, it turns out it was a $5 record, and I put it as very good. It's almost very good plus. It was so good that I bought two. So I paid what, $15 for 13 records, but look at the slight variation in the label on this one on the right here. Different font. Look where the text drops in there versus where the text drops in there. So you're well into the cloud here. And I saw this label variant when I was posting it. So, you know, those are the little things that can make a big difference. So let's look it up. Another thing I just noticed about this one too, look at the size of the word stereo. It's very large, and when I look it up, so this might be a third variation. See if I can find it. All right, another variation on the label just because of the large stereo right there. And I'm quite sure it's not Gladys Knight. If it's arranged by Gary Knight right there. So, but this variation is an $8 record. I'm putting it down as a very good just because it's got this. I don't know what that is, a scuff or a scratch. It's got some more stuff in there. So it's a very good, it's not a very good plus. So yeah, just because of that little variation, it ends up being a $6 record instead of a $5. So I picked up two of what seemed to be the same record, but there was a minor variation. And that's the beauty of 45s. You never know until you get into the details what you're going to get. Next up is a little bit of a guilty pleasure. The Kings switch into Glide right there. And the record's a little beat up. Normally I wouldn't buy something in this condition. And but I believe they were a Toronto band. It somehow Detroit radio picked them up. And then the B-side is This Beat Goes On, which are really two songs, but with the one that they played on the radio, the version is the A-side just went right into the B-side. So I'm sure there's that version out there, but these here are separate songs. But I think the most famous line off this record was "Nothing matters but the weekend from a Tuesday point of view." It was like a bar song, but what a great record. I'll look it up and see if it's worth anything, but I bought it. All right, turns out I already have 2 copies of it, but this, you can go by the label. It's up at that little SP tells you the pressing plant, and this logo you're gonna see a lot. SRC, right by my thumb there.
You see any tannins in the water?
Filming, hon. So right there. Filming. Right there, that SRC is Specialty Record Corporation. Here, the dead wax are just scratched out, so someone put the wrong number. I saw an Extreme record label version of this from Canada in 1980, so I think this is one of those that became a local hit and then Elektra just picked it up and printed their own. But there you go, I got a 3rd copy. By the way, it's worth about $3.50. So there you go. Next up on The Price is Right, the King Bees. I think the lead guy's name is Jimmy James, and he plays a really cool sort of a rockabilly guitar. And this was another regional hit in Detroit. I don't know how big it got elsewhere, but I love going to Michigan because a lot of these show up in our bins at RPM Records that I don't run across them as much in Indiana or Chicago because, you know, we still had regional hits back then, believe it or not. Let's look it up. This is another one of those ones that's going to drive me nuts. Oh, by the way, I trimmed my nails. The wife was like, yeah, you got to trim your nails. So they grow a lot when I take my vitamins, so it does drive me nuts. Anyways, my mistake by the King Bees. Regional hit in Detroit. I know it was huge. Their other song off the same album was, I think, Shake Bop. Sort of, they call it new wave, but I would call it sort of like rockabilly. And the J. James, I think he's basically the whole man, 3-piece band. But I can't find this exact label. So it says there's only one U.S. release, so I'm going to have to get a little tricky and get into the dead wax. You see those letters over there for you rookies? I'm going to have to enter some of those numbers and see if I can find this U.S. label, because I think a little scratch right there by my thumb. There's something on the edge here too, but I can clean that off. It's almost like food or something. So I'm going to give it a very good plus. There's a speck of something over here on the lower. I would say, what would I call that? About 4 o'clock on the dial there, but that's just surface. So we'll clean it up and look it up. Okay, so there you go. I entered it and I thought, well, maybe it's a Canadian label, but clearly you see Los Angeles, California. It's got that little 26 right there. It's RSO. It doesn't mean it's rare just because you can't find it in Discogs. So it's about a $4.54 record. It's a great record. You know, drop in a little picture of the bands. They were sort of a cool looking cats trio. But I put label variant in the notes. So if you're really stuck and you can't find it, and I looked it up 3 or 4 times, it's just not in the database. So help me out if you've ever seen this version, got any more info, but I think it's just a common variation. All right, next up is a very clean copy of Groove Me by King Floyd. So you might say, well, who the hell is K.A.? Someone put their initials on that right there, and their initials were K.A. but sometimes they just did that to make sure that they knew what the A side was. Very cool. Distributed by Cotillion, a division of Atlantic Recording Corporations. That would be Atlantic Records. So this might have been one of their subsidiaries, or they were a freestanding company that used Atlantic's massive distribution network, sort of like what Stax did. Great song though, they play it all the time. And you see it in some of these old funk LPs, Pure Funk maybe, Groove Me by King Floyd. Look at that, recorded at Malaco Studios, Jackson, Mississippi. So it's recorded there in the Deep South. And it's a great album. They play it all the time on Smoky Soul Town. Oh, look at that, the B-side, the initials there too. So someone just went crazy. And, you know, that was it. Getting home from the party with your record in hand. Or someone says, oh, that's my record. And then you say, no, it's not. SP, it's usually Specialty Records. Let's look it up. All right, there you go. It's a $4 record. And there was, always check notes. If you're entering on your phone, there's a little note section. There's one extra line of text in here that changes it from a different variation on the label, and I almost missed it. And then if you're gonna sell this, you better put writing on label, or WOL. This is a very good plus record. It's got some surface dust on it. But if someone buys that from you and they see that you didn't write down that it had a big KA on both sides, they're gonna be pissed. So make sure you tell your buyer what they're getting, because Discogs just uses generic pictures, which saves you a lot of time. In eBay, you have to take pictures of everything, and that's just a pain in the butt. Well, there you go. Great song, $4 record, Chimneyville, Groove Me by King Floyd. Check it out. All right, there we go. As promised, some Northern Soul. So, turns out that's the B-side, and I got two of them. And who is it? It's none other than, what's his name? Hang on a second, Al Kent, right there, on Rictic. Difference between these two records, this one's in better shape. That's probably a good plus, and you can see the wear, that's probably a very good. The A side is right here, Where Do I Go From Here, by Al Kent. But the B side just says instrumental, and but written by Al Kent. And the B-side's the one that's the Northern Soul. So let me do a little bit more research on it. Here's the deal, like this one, I don't think it's a rare record. It's probably a $4 or $5 record. Last week, I found some Northern Soul, but they were mad at me because I used the word rare record. But if you gave a teenager $20 and on a street corner and said, get back here in 2 hours with some Northern Soul records, you want to see how rare they are. They might get one online, but finding it in the wild, that's a whole different story. So rare is relative. Let's see what it's worth. Remember, this is the list I'm going with. So if you're mad at something that I bought or that I didn't buy, get mad at Kev Roberts. Get mad at Goldmine, Soul Supply Ltd. in 2000, where this was printed. Ultra cool mod clubs of the late 60s with names like the Blue Orchid, King Mojo, and the Twisted Wheel. The sound was Motown, Stax, and Atlantic, and their imitators. American soul music was an express train beat that found a spiritual home in England's north and a name, Northern Soul, driven by incredible sounds from Detroit to Chicago, Philadelphia, and the New York and the West Coast. It grew and developed at the Torch, Blackpool Mecca, the Catacombs, and then it exploded at Wiggins Casino Club. Now in its second wave, the Northern Soul infectious beat is once again spreading to packed dance halls across the country. So when I got this list, it was like the most rare all the way to, 500, but it was not in any kind of order. I was trying to highlight stuff. It was just a mess. So then this was the same thing, just a little bit more cleaned up. But Jeffrey from Maryland sent me this alphabetized. So yesterday we went over here on the K's. We did the J's a couple episodes ago. And sure enough, there's that Al Kent. you've got to pay the price on Rick Pick, right? Is that what we're looking at right there? Or is there another version? So I think I hit it. So the bottom line, what number is that? It's not number 1 by Frank Wilson. So let's see if I can look it up and get an idea where in the top 5. Is it $4.99 or is it number 3? Let's find out. So on the original list, there it is, number 311. So if the list is done by popularity, this is in the bottom half. So it could be common. Like I said, I think it's a $4 or $5 record. To find 2 in the same bin, though, I'm pretty happy. And it is on the list. So if someone's got an updated list, like from 2025, send it to me, because I'll do that next. I was offline, but I did some research. In very good, this is worth $3.58. In good, it's worth about $2. I sell records, of course. Detroit Bob, look them up on Discogs. I don't sell to the UK though, simply just because it's a hassle to have to put the labels on, the international shipping. You got to go down to the main post office. You got to wait in line, and blah blah blah. Where I can sell these over here, and they're media. So media mail is $4.63. I can get up to 12 or 13 of these in one box for the same amount of shipping. So I think I just charged like a straight $6 or $6.99 for shipping. That pays for the packaging, the handling, and gets it to your door. And I'm finding out that media mail gets there just as quick as first class mail. But Northern Soul, there you go. Here, okay, we go to RPM Records. Here's Detroit here. Here's the region, here's Chicago. So this is sort of my triangle right here. Boom, boom, boom. But you got Chicago, you got Motown, and you got this whole mid-Michigan. The whole state's about the size of England, believe it or not. Except we're surrounded by lakes, except for right here. This is Wisconsin comes in here. Great Lake, Superior Lake. Lake Superior, we call it. This is Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario over here. Detroit River right there. This is Ohio right here, and that's Indiana right there. But a great little place to hang out. I grew up in Detroit area, and I hang out up here in this little town called Traverse City. So let's get on to the next record, which is Lucky 11. Why would I waste time with this? Well, there was a scene in Detroit called the Grandee Ballroom, and it was run by a teacher from Dearborn High, Russ Gibb, I believe his name was. And he went out to San Francisco and he saw the whole Fillmore scene, so he came home bound and determined to create it. He found an old ballroom, rented it out, and started having concerts for kids. Well, it turns out Led Zeppelin played there, Cream played there, The Who played there, Jethro Tull played there, several big blues artists played there. Rod Stewart and the Faces played there. Everybody, including Terry Knight and the Pack. Now, some of the artwork from these shows is incredible. It rivals the San Francisco Fillmore era art posters. One of the best artists was Gary Grimshaw. But there was another guy called Carl Lundgren, and they cranked out some really, really cool posters. And if you want, check it out, just Grandee with an E and then Ballroom. I believe there's a documentary called Louder Than Love, and everybody played there. Iggy and the Pop. The house band was the MC5. So their stories is Clapton has told, saying, you had to go up against the MC5. You better bring your A game. Joe Walsh played there. Back then it was the James King. But Terry Knight and the Pack, they became Grand Funk. So the Pack, Mark Farner, I don't know if Donnie Brewer was in it, but I think he was. And so there you go. Terry Knight was a local DJ. Now this Lucky 11 was distributed by Cameo, Parkway Records. Sort of a cool looking label. So I always pick up Terry Knight and the Pack when I find them, because that's a Grandee Ballroom band, and that's a cool little record. I don't know if it's got any value. Let's check it out. So there you go. All right, so there you go, a $3.50 record. There were 6 variations of this record. One of them was on Ann Arbor Records, small label stuff. So I don't know if you're going to find this as much in other states besides Michigan, but I did find some Terry Knight in the Pack down in Florida. We were at Satellite Beach, and I found like a stack of 8 promos. So who knows? Terry Knight in the Pack. Lucky 11 Records. We talked about this one in the store, Lies by the Knickerbockers. Sounds like a Beatles record. And collectibles label, I pick these up all the time. They resell real well, but they're really good for your jukebox. And why? Because they got back-to-back hits almost every time. Now this one, Heart and Soul by Jan and Dean. I don't think that's just going to jump off the jukebox, but look who wrote that, Hoagie Carmichael. Canadian, Indiana's best songwriter. What did Hoagie Carmichael write? He wrote Heart and Soul. He also wrote, I believe, Up a Lazy River and Georgia on My Mind. But his biggest hit is Stardust. And look up Willie Nelson's version of Stardust. It's a jazz standard classic. It might be the greatest jazz song ever written. Girl from Ipanema is pretty good too, though. But the Knickerbockers, this is just screams. I might even put it in my jukebox. My Row AMI 1963 stereo jukebox would sound real good. Let's check it out. All right, there you go. It turns out that Lies is the B-side. So Janet Dean, you can see up in that upper 2 o'clock position there, that SRC, that's your stamping plant. And Collectible Record Corporation, Nazareth, PA. I think they're the same company that made Eric. Is that the other reissue label? Sometimes you'll see a New Jersey address. But there you go, $3.52. All right, next one up, My Sharona by the Knack. And we talked about this in the store. It was a huge hit. I probably have 5 or 6 copies of it. Oh, I dropped it on the floor. Hang on. Get it? My Sharona from the Knack. I love the traditional Capitol label. Even though this came out in 1979, I don't even know if they were using that label anymore, but I probably would guess that Don Feiger requested that. Very cool from the album Get the Knack. And Power Pop was big right around that because in Detroit we had the Romantics, and then Cheap Trick was hitting big right around here, and then all of a sudden the Knack. So Power Pop was just like all over the airwaves. And other guys like Donnie Iris and New Wave were sort of jumping in on that, even the King Bees. So Let Me Out was another album track. Great album from beginning to end. I think it was like one of these, basically 39-minute albums. But you had to have this album. And, they're going up against like this heavy Pink Floyd, we don't need no education. And you just had the Knack, which is just a fun band. So I think it's probably worth about $2. So this little thing right here looks like a gun stock. That's because it's Winchester pressing. So Winchester made rifles, so it'd be the reason why they had a gun stock. But the cover is somewhat provocative, so this in perfect shape would sell for $30 according to Discogs. So that makes a $3 record into a $30 record if this was just pristine. But that shows you how much a good picture sleeve adds to the value. As is, probably $5. I think the algorithm in the computer says it's a $9 record, but I think with the picture sleeve, this is very good. That's very good. I think it's about a $5 record.
Easily.
All right, next up is Earl Klugh, Time the Traveler, it's called. And this is introducing the concept of a birth sleeve. Because here's the record, Warner Brothers, and then here's the sleeve, Warner Brothers. Now, doesn't that mean that's where it came from? But look at how the sleeve is sort of indented around this record. So it almost tells you that that record never really left that sleeve. Hence the term birth sleeve. That's what it came with. More than just a company sleeve. Because you could have a Warner Brothers sleeve and it just was thrown in there later. It's a promotion. Upper right, 2 o'clock, promotional, not for sale. Why Earl Klugh? Because I like him. And we saw him in Hawaii at the Blue Note. And he put on a hell of a show. Got to meet him personally. His drummer is from the Detroit area. I think Earl Klugh may be living in the Detroit area. I don't know if he's from there, but the drummer was. Talked to him for quite a while after the show. Earl Klugh, great chill music on acoustic guitar. Just an incredible, just talent. I don't expect this to be worth a lot, but I think it's cool. The birth sleeve, you listen to what's his name, Manship, is that his name? He does a whole segment on birth sleeves, and it does add value in his opinion. I agree. So there you go. Let's look it up. Right there you go. Birth sleeve with it. Earl Klugh. It says it's about $3.50 record. I think it's got a premium value of $2 because of the birth sleeve. And even though it should be mint, right, if it just sat, but you got shelf wear on it. And you can see it's been slid in and out of the sleeve probably just to look at. I don't know if it's been played. It might have been played. But there's some shelf wear. It knocks it down from a near mint to a very good plus, in my opinion. And so I listed it company sleeve for sure, but I put burst sleeve too. In my professional opinion, this is the burst sleeve. So if someone wants to argue with me, okay, so be it. But I felt confident enough to say this is the burst sleeve. Right, next up is Earl Klugh with Bob James. Now, we just talked about Earl Klugh. You can see some of the scuffing on the edge of this record right up here. Almost looked like whiplash. The record got a whiplash. The song's called Whiplash, but the record probably was in a jukebox because that's a typical pattern. It's been played. It's probably, I would still grade it very good. But Bob James is a piano player. I think he did the theme song from Taxi. We talked about that earlier. But sometimes these combos work. I don't think it was a hit, but let's look it up. It's definitely an obscure jazz release. 1982 Capitol Records. Capitol's gone away from the yellow and the orange swirl label, and they've gone to this purple, sort of a boring record label. Well, maybe they stuck with that for jazz. Jazz is for mature audiences. There you have it. That's another edition of Rockmine. Now, I think you know which way I'm leaning for my gem of the week. But this was, it turns out I had another copy of this, but it's a $2.25 record. So, but you know what? It's worth a lot to me because it brings back a great memory of seeing Earl Klugh and meeting the band, meeting Earl Klugh. Just walking down the street in Honolulu, and I saw Earl Klugh on the billboard or on the theater marquee, and my wife and I bought tickets, and we sat second row. So, great memories. Detroit Bob, another issue of Rockmine in the books, and we did letter K, and guess what? We came up with some Northern Soul. And there you go, Al Kent right there, but it's the B-side, and You've Got to Pay the Price, which is an instrumental on Rick Tick Records. It's not a big expensive record, it's a $4 or $5 record, but the beauty of it is I got two. So 2 Northern Souls in one trip. That's almost as good as the Human Beings. And he was number 300 something on that Northern Soul list. Remember, we're working on this list right here. And where are we getting them at? We're getting them at a little place here in Michigan called RPM Records. So state of Michigan, there you go, right there. It's always shaped like a mitten, right? And we're working that triangle from Chicago to Detroit to Northern Michigan. We get everything in between. We got Saginaw, we got Lansing, we got Flint, we got Grand Rapids, we got to hit Cadillac, and we're also just getting off that Shipshewana trip. So Michigan is a great state. It's a great place to vacation, but it's also a great place to find great soul records.